Okay, let's look at some of the configuration screens on the Amesh product. We'll just go to its web page, which is 192.168.1.100. Enter. Admin. Admin. Enter. Okay, let's see what we've got here. Okay, it starts up on the system page. We've only got 5 menu items across the top. Info, which just gives you the basic information about the firmware version, etc. You've got system here, which gives you features like, for example, here you can actually change the host name, so this is what identifies it on the mesh network. You can set up a periodic reboot. This is so you've got a clean slate. So, for example, you could say, I don't know, reboot every night, for example. So you can set it for 1 day or 2 months or whatever. You've got the usual NTP settings here. So you can put in server names and that sort of thing. If you've got a password, you've got the usual thing for changing the administration configuration password. Backup and restore, obviously just back up this configuration or reload a configuration or set to defaults. We've got firmware upgrade, and we've got reboot, so you can actually reboot the unit after doing a configuration change. Now the main menu item is network. This is the one that does all the business. So you've got two networks. You've got the LAN side. So here is just the setting for the LAN side, which has to say is default 1.100. And here you can add in DNS servers. And we just click on wireless. Now under wireless, at the top you've got the generic settings. So this is the operation mode. Now most of the times you'll use this as an AP with a mesh. So it's got a mesh backbone with a local AP coverage for local clients. The other options are it can be an AP only, or it can AP plus a station. So it can actually be a client, so it could actually connect to another AP. So you could have this set up as a point-to-point link or something like that. Usual things for setting what Wi-Fi you want to use, FCC or ETSI for channel selection, normal channel modes, and a distance parameter, and you set that to roughly the longest distance of the links that you got. Now these are the three main sections for the wireless configuration modes. You've got the access point setup. So do you want WMM switched on? Do you want to control the transfer rate, transmit power, RTS settings, fragmentation threshold, SSID, etc., etc. Also, this is an interesting parameter. It's actually got a bandwidth control. What this actually does is it controls the maximum bandwidth associated or applied to each particular client. So for example, if this is set up as 1 meg, even if a client actually has a 54 meg Wi-Fi link, the maximum traffic speed that they can attain is limited to 1 meg. And this can actually go right down to 200k or up to 2 meg, or it can be disabled. With disabled, they can grab as much as they can get. A useful feature in a mesh environment where you may actually want to limit the specific download rate of individual clients. Usual wireless security for all of the client AP connectivity side. Now this is the actual wireless setup for the mesh side. So here you have, yet again, do you want to actually put WMM enabled or disabled on the mesh backbone? Same things again for transmit rate and transmit power, and the same things for RTS, fragmentation threshold. Here we have the mesh ID. When you're setting this up, all units that have the same mesh SSID on the same channel will try to connect to each other. If the mesh SSID is different, then it won't connect to this particular mesh. So it means you can actually run two meshes close to each other without them interfering with each other. And you can also put a AES encryption on the mesh backbone. You've got to remember that the Wi-Fi for the mesh backbone cannot generally be picked up by any wireless client. Certainly when we've tried it here, we couldn't find anything that could see it. We couldn't find a Windows notebook that could see it. We couldn't find any Wi-Fi phones that could see it. So it's effectively a completely hidden Wi-Fi network that links the mesh units together. Station side is when you actually want to set it up as a client, so it can connect to a neighbouring access point. Other main menu item here, we've got status. Gives you all the usual stuff about volume usage, number of connections, etc., etc. You've got interfaces here. It gives you stats upon the various interfaces being used by the device. Perfectly frank, I don't understand 1/10 of what all this means. So as long as I'm concerned, as long as it works, what the hell. ARP figures, NetStat figures. You know, as if I really understand all this, not. You can do some basic diagnostics like some ping tests and that sort of thing. The mesh side actually gives you figures for links to neighbouring nodes. And you notice this device actually can see 3 neighbouring nodes with different RSSI figures. Basically, anything over 42 is good. You know, that's worth having. If it gets less than 42, then the links are starting to get a bit poor. No clients associated to the AP side. Station configure status doesn't tell us anything at all because it's not set up as a client. And site survey doesn't work either because, yet again, that applies to it actually being a client. Come on, computer, you could do it. Right, let's just go look at the log now. Log function is so you can set up a syslog server to receive various logs, give you the information. Now it's all written down here what these various types of information are. To be honest, I've never used them. This product just works, so I don't need to play around with that sort of thing. And that's it. That's the basic configuration screens of the Amesh unit.